What do you get when you combine robots in sleek uniforms, a stellar combat system, and a story that will fill you with hope and crush your soul at the same time? You get NieR Automata, that's what. If you're a gamer, then you've probably heard of this game before. It's one of the most video games of all time after all. NieR Automata has been talked about to death, and for good reason. It served as an industry-wide reminder about the impactful stories video games can tell. But I think everyone focused on the actual narrative, and overlooked some genuinely great instances of ludonarrative storytelling, as in reinforcement of narrative themes through mechanical design. If you haven't, please watch my first video, tutorial, to know what I'm talking about. Now, I'm not nearly smart enough to talk about this game in its entirety. NieR Automata deals with heavily philosophical themes like humanity and existentialism, which I'm not too familiar with. So instead, I'm going to focus on a small portion of the game, specifically how some of its combat encounters do an excellent job of conveying characters' personalities and backstories through mechanics and battle design. This is Meaning in NieR Automata. Spoiler warning, this video contains minor spoilers for NieR Automata. If you haven't played this game and are at all interested in it, I strongly recommend playing the game first before watching this video. Before diving into gameplay analysis, I'll summarize some basic information about NieR Automata, along with its narrative themes and core rules. NieR Automata was developed by Platinum Games, renowned for making amazing combat systems, published by Square Enix, with some of the strongest resumes in the video games industry, and directed by Yoko Taro, the extraordinary evolution of humanity. With a combination like that, this game was always destined to be top tier, and it is. NieR Automata is set in the far future. Aliens invaded Earth with an army of machine lifeforms, forcing humanity to escape to the moon and eventually retaliate with an army of androids. Earth is burnt more than my worst cooking, but androids and machine lifeforms continue to fight throughout the ruins of humanity. The game's story heavily focuses on themes of humanity, as in what does it mean to be human, and existentialism, as in what is the meaning of existence. Even though the only humans are on the moon, both the machines and the androids are really curious about humans. Heck, they even try and imitate them as if they want to be human. Early on, we see some machines interested in the concept of biological reproduction, pretending to take care of a small child and also imitating the movements. There's also machines in the ruins of an amusement park who don't attack, instead parading through the streets and throwing heaps of confetti. Likewise, androids also have rather human-like behaviors, with the prime example being one named 6O, who tries out horoscopes, calls when she gets rejected, and even asks,
"Say, how's the weather on Earth today? Good?"
There's more examples, but listing them all here will take forever, so let's move on to the basic rules and controls. Throughout the game, players periodically control one of three characters: the quiet but sassy 2B, beautiful poster girl for the game, the curious and quippy 9S, who is equal amounts innocent and unhinged, and the crabby, foul-mouthed A2, who could probably curse so rudely she'd make your ears bleed. All of them control relatively similarly. In terms of movement, they can run, dash, jump, etc. They also have a mix of close range and long range weaponry that they'll tear through enemies with, and a selection of powerful abilities that can be charged up. Players will spend most of their time exploring the world and fighting against humanity's big bombastic bad guys, the machine lifeforms. Their designs and attack patterns vary, but they all tend to use melee attacks and fire these red projectiles. Relevant to this video is 9S's hacking ability. He's a scanner model android, so he's built for that kind of stuff. Players can initiate a hack into mechanical enemies, and suddenly you're in the Matrix. Okay, it's considerably less green, but it's a digital representation of the mechanical enemy's mind. There's more rules and special situations, but I'm not mentioning them since they're irrelevant to this video. Anyway, NieR Automata's combat system is already crazy fun on its own. I mean, it doesn't get much cooler than unleashing a storm of blades against a giant mess of construction equipment the size of a building. But where it really shines is how the combat encounters are designed to symbolically represent boss enemies, personalities, and backstories. First up is the machine songstress Beauvoir. Beauvoir is actually a boss you fight twice. It's the same events, but once from 2B's perspective and once from 9S's perspective. You find her in a ruined amusement park in a large auditorium. Her body looks like an opera singer in a dress, but why? After defeating her as 9S, we get a brief monologue from her perspective. In her own attempts to copy humanity, she tried making another machine fall in love with her. So she set out to become beautiful, eventually cannibalizing her machine friends and using their parts to accent herself with stylish clothes and accessories. But despite all she'd done, the machine of her affection wasn't interested. And all of this, her desire for love, her efforts to become beautiful, her monstrous actions, are all portrayed through her boss fight. If you're not like me and haven't played piano or another instrument for 20 years, I'm going to briefly explain how musical tempo works. Composers use a standardized division of time to divide songs into short portions called measures. Measures are then further divided into beats. I don't have the score for this fight's soundtrack, A Beautiful Song by Hoashi Keigo, so let's hypothetically say the fight is in 4/4 notation, which means there are 4 beats per measure, and the tempo is 148, like so. Beauvoir's attacks are synchronized to the tempo for most of the fight. A lot of her attacks are initiated on the beat itself. It's technically possible to desynchronize the music and the attacks, either by pausing the game or using abilities that dilate time as they charge. But the game manages to quickly resynchronize Beauvoir's attacks to the music tempo. That means the synchronization isn't a coincidence, it's deliberate. Beauvoir's attacks being synchronized to the tempo means that they are launched consistently according to certain timing. The fight is meant to draw players into a dance, incentivizing them to listen to the song and follow the beat so they can know when to dodge and thus avoid damage. They are forced to become Beauvoir's dance partner in order to fight effectively or risk getting blasted into smithereens by a storm of lasers. So, her desire for a lover is communicated through the fight's dynamics, pushing the player to participate in her dance. The fight really changes when you whittle her down to low health, and she transforms into something from your worst nightmares. A large spider-like colossus with inelegant legs and a disturbingly placed mouth, probably representative of how she cannibalized her machine friends to build her metal dress. At this point, her attack patterns change drastically. Up until now, she's almost exclusively been using ranged attacks while doing all sorts of elegant dance-like maneuvers and spinning around. She had one melee attack, but even this is sort of elegant in appearance as she gracefully slides around in circles like a figure skater. Her post-transformation attack animations become more unrefined and violent. She jumps and rampages around the room to destroy you with brute force, and sometimes seems to lose control of her body as projectiles emanate from her. Most importantly, her attacks are no longer synchronized to the music, which I think is meant to intentionally trip up the player. I've never done ballroom dancing before, but I have done piano duets, and from that I know that if one person isn't on tempo, it messes up their partner's rhythm. So now the player, who has specifically been taught to listen to the music to know when to dodge, cannot do so anymore due to Beauvoir abandoning the dance. The result is a moment of scrambling around as you're trying to adapt to the fight's new dynamics and avoid getting squished into a pancake. And thus, her monstrous actions of cannibalizing her machine friends in the pursuit of beauty, previously hidden by her elegant dress and demeanor, are communicated through her transformation into a rampaging colossus. This fight is only 10 minutes long, shorter if you know what you're doing, but it's one of my favorite moments in gaming ever. The fight is fun, yes, but is intricately designed so that Beauvoir's backstory, her hopeless pursuit for love, and the monstrous actions she took in said pursuit are conveyed through her attacks and transformation. Beauvoir's fight is definitely my favorite, but it's not the only encounter that uses ludonarrative storytelling in its fight design. Next is the encounter with 210. 210 isn't a machine life form. She's actually an android, an operator to be exact. While androids like 2B and 9S are deployed to do recon and combat in the field, operators stay at HQ to assist them with data processing and support. 210 is 9S's assigned operator, and at the start of the game is a foil to his personality. 9S is curious and quippy, while 210 is professional and almost cold. 9S often makes remarks about his missions, and 210 will scold him for radio checking.
The target is now accessible.
Yeah.
One affirmation will suffice.
Fine.
Hacking complete. One target remains.
Man, this is a real pain.
May I remind you that personal chatter during operations is restricted?
Fine.
Honestly, it sometimes sounds like a mom scolding her son. In the early to mid game, 210 provides 2 side quests to 9S. In the second, Data Analysis Freak 2, 210 asks 9S to find some data on humanity, specifically about the social unit known as families. She seems to be fascinated by the concept, something that we'll get back to later. At around the mid to late point of the game, the relationship between 9S and 2-1 starts to change.
That's right. Good job, 9S.
Why are you talking to me like I'm a child?
What? That must be your imagination.
She's praising him. That's a first.
I see your hacking was successful. Way to go!
You're totally treating me like a kid.
Now move on to the next one.
Fine.
And she's treating him like a child. What exactly is happening here? After a bunch of stuff happens, 9S stumbles upon 210 with her eyes glowing red. Long story short, she's been taken over by the machines, and the fight begins. During the initial phase of the fight, 210 stands behind an impenetrable barrier that blocks all melee and ranged attacks, and also repels advances through some lasers and a chain of spiked obstacles that damage you if you get too close. This barrier can only be damaged through a single weak point that is constantly shifting and sometimes inaccessible. Do you see what's happening here? The barrier, with its impenetrable defenses, damaging edges, and shifting singular weak point, is representative of how 210 is a cold, sometimes prickly person who's hard to get through to. Don't believe me? Let's keep going. Other than a grunt of exertion before the fight begins, 210 is completely silent when the barrier is up. Once it goes down, she starts engaging us at close quarters, and only then does she begin to speak.
Coordinate data. Location specified. Please keep. Return. Mission related. One. Affirmation. Well. Supplies.
One affirmation will suffice.
Initially, it seems to just be past conversations that are randomly being played, probably since she's glitching from being mind-controlled, but as the fight goes on, what she's saying begins to change.
Family to be with. Please. Kill. I just wanted a family. I was so lonely.
She starts being more honest with 9S than she's ever been.
I wanted to be with 9S.
This is such a perfect and tragic representation of their entire relationship. With the barrier representing her previously cold, aloof nature gone, the dialogue she spouts at us represents her true, honest thoughts. This fight is simple in design, but effective in using its gameplay as a metaphor to depict the relationship between 9S and 210. It depicts their entire relationship up to this point, and the desire for a warm family that 210 wanted but tragically never got to have. Other than boss fights, NieR Automata also uses the level design of its hacking minigames to ludonarratively communicate personality traits or quirks of certain characters. As previously mentioned, the playable character 9S is able to hack into enemies, and after entering a digital space and completing a combat challenge, he can gain various advantages in battle. Most hacking spaces the player will interact with are selected from a rotation of randomly selected bullet hell challenges whenever they hack generic enemies. However, there are a couple of uniquely designed hacking spaces that harness the fact that they are digital representations of mechanical entities' minds to cleverly execute some great instances of ludonarrative storytelling. The first example can be found in the quest Idiot Savant. In a village of peaceful machine life forms, some are making fun of a seemingly faulty machine who, when asked to choose between two coins, prefers the one with less value and says, "He, thanks a lot," when called a dummy. 9S hypothesizes that the faulty machine must be malfunctioning or damaged, and hacks his way inside to take a closer look. Now, this hacking space is just brilliant. There are 9 cores in total that must be destroyed, and the central core is locked while the 8 auxiliary cores are intact. The 8 auxiliary cores all consistently launch projectiles to eliminate the player, and with each one destroyed, those that remain become increasingly aggressive. Some auxiliary cores shoot one stream of projectiles, and some fire a whole storm of them. While most hacking spaces only require that you dodge and shoot, this one actually encourages a degree of strategy. If you go after the mass firing cores first, you'll have less of a headache later. But if you accidentally leave those for last, you might be overwhelmed by the sheer mass of fire. This hacking space's complexity and adaptive response to your onslaught represents how this seemingly faulty machine isn't dumb at all. It's smart, probably smarter than me. After completing the hacking challenge, the seemingly faulty machine admits it's putting on a farce and hiding its true intelligence. Idiot Savant uses ludonarrative storytelling through hacking space's basic rules and level design to communicate a character's personality traits purely through gameplay before clarifying things in text and dialogue. While decidedly less subtle than the example in Idiot Savant, the hacking space at the end of Eve's boss fight also uses its design to reflect its owner's mental state. Eve is one of the leaders of the machines, alongside his so-called brother Adam. While Adam is cold and calculating and particularly focused on studying and imitating humanity, Eve cares for nothing but spending time with his brother. By the time of Eve's boss battle, Adam is dead and Eve is going berserk as a result of losing his brother. 9S hacks into Eve's systems to weaken him and is initially met with digital representations of Eve fighting back. But as 9S progresses, Eve's digital mind starts to get more haphazard and disorganized, which matches his constant screaming and crying throughout the battle. Destructible blocks are scattered rather messily in a manner that doesn't really impede intrusion. By the end, the last corridor is pretty much open, almost as if to suggest that Eve has given up. And at the depths of this hacking space, we see what he held dear, a hologram of the time he spent with his brother. While this example is notably simpler than Idiot Savant, the progressive changes that occur in Eve's hacking space are an effective way of relying on level design instead of dialogue to communicate his rapidly deteriorating mental state. I could talk about this game for hours, but the examples I listed in this video are the ones I understand the best and have the most confidence in analyzing. Even 8 years later, I still think NieR Automata is one of the best examples of a video game using its rules to convey and reinforce narrative elements and themes. Boivar's wishes and sins conveyed through her dance-like battle, 210's relationship with 9S portrayed through her encounter, the seemingly dumb but truly intelligent machine's mind depicted through its hacking space, and Eve's crumbling mental state as his own hacking space becomes more and more vulnerable. NieR Automata doesn't just tell you its story, it makes you feel its story through the controller as you push the buttons. We still just barely scratched the surface of what video games are capable of as a medium, but NieR Automata is a good place to start. A game about slick robots fighting construction equipment managed to become one of the greatest narratives about humanity and existentialism ever made. Who would have thought? Thank you for watching.